everyone, welcome to Question Period Rewind. I'm Donna Skelly, the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. Let's go back to 1986. That's the year when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted its first batch of musicians. Among them, the iconic Ray Charles, Buddy Holly, and of course, Elvis Presley. Tina Turner was also receiving praise in California, where her star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame was revealed. And if you turned on the radio, there's a good chance you'd hear Madonna's #1 hit, Papa Don't Preach. But now, let's tune into the conversations the MPPs were having in Question Period.
Oral questions. The member for Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Questions for the Minister of Health.
Your twits yesterday got up Premier when you weren't here.
I want to, by way of this question, draw to his attention a serious health care deficiency in Northern Ontario. The Minister should be very familiar with the problem of obtaining anesthetic services in Northern Ontario. St. Joseph's Hospital, Mr. Speaker, in Elliott Lake is a well-equipped local hospital with a dedicated medical staff, but face a real dilemma because they do not have a resident anesthetist. With winter closing in and with bad weather on its way, access to other hospitals may be very seriously limited. I want to ask the Minister what action he's taking to resolve what is and will continue to be, unless he's prepared to act, a serious health care accessibility problem.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I have been aware of that particular problem, and I'm well aware that that difficulty has existed now over many, many years. In fact, it extends maybe perhaps as far back as 12 or more years. I have met with the people from St. Joseph's Hospital when they were here at the OHA convention. They brought their concerns to me. I met with two members of the community of Elliott Lake when they were visiting Toronto as participants in the underserviced area program, and they appraised me of the particular concerns that they have. They have received contacts and they have received support from the underserviced area program people, Dr. Copeman, and they have been trying to make contacts to see if they can alleviate some of the difficulties. I cannot tell you that I can demand that an anesthetist take up residency in Elliott Lake. But I can tell you that we are pursuing actively through the ministry support people, through the underserviced area program, every effort that we can to provide them with assistance to take some of the pressure off the anesthetists already performing the services there.
Supplementary. The member for Rainy River.
By way of supplementary, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health has been engaged in a study to develop a program that would utilize Dash 8 aircraft that would pick up patients that require operations and transport them to the larger centres in Northern Ontario. In Atikokan, a mother is required to take 3 days off, bear the cost of transportation and accommodations, while she takes her son to Thunder Bay for a simple tonsillectomy operation. What is the Minister prepared to do to assist hospitals like Atikokan to perform this type of surgery, and what is he prepared to do to the people that are required to take this amount of time out of their schedules to go to those kinds of operations?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, with particular reference to the tonsillectomy problem in Atikokan, I'm not well apprised of that particular situation. I'll take it under advisement and get back to the honourable gentleman. As you know, one of the things that we have done for Northern Ontario is provide support services for transport of people to larger centres, and in this situation we can tell the honourable gentleman that we're looking at our Northern Transportation Network to provide support for those people, and I would tell the honourable gentleman that we in fact have taken steps to ensure that travel is available and that we are able to respond to the needs of the people of Atikokan and other areas in the northern part of our province.
Final supplementary, the member for Nipissing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister will know that accessibility to quality health care in Northern Ontario is deteriorating every day that you're supposedly in charge. Until this month, North Bay used to have 4 anesthetists to provide epidurals. This service today is no longer available in North Bay. I wanted to ask you what you were doing, but I know that you're doing nothing, so I'll ask you why. Why are you doing nothing while the level of these services deteriorates throughout the smaller centers of this province?
Minister?
Sure, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. He knows right well that we are doing several things, and we are increasing the access of people to health services right across the province of Ontario. If particular people wish to send out letters indicating that they are no longer interested in providing services, that as an independent practitioner in a profession which is well recognized as being independent, then they certainly can take that initiative. I can tell the honourable gentleman, Mr. Speaker, there are concerns expressed about the opportunities available for people to take special training to provide anesthetic services. I can tell the honourable gentleman that I am pursuing those avenues as well. I cannot speak for the individual practitioners who decide that they will no longer provide services. I cannot force people to deliver service if they do not wish to deliver those services.
New question? Order. New question, the member for Leeds.
Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Industry, Trade and Technology. I'd like to ask the Minister about a $900,000 loan which was made by the Ontario Development Corporation to Documented Circuits of Kingston. The loan was made with the intent of helping high-tech development in the Kingston area and was backed by an agreement which stipulated that the company's assets could not be moved without ODC's approval. However, in June, Documented Circuits shipped their newly developed computer to their parent company's headquarters in California. As this clearly violated the agreement, I would like to know what actions the Minister has taken to recover the $900,000 and the technology which was developed with taxpayers' money.
Minister?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And to the member, I am aware of the particular case that you talk about and the circumstances that have happened and the transfer of that high technology piece of equipment to the States. I can only tell you that our ministry is working very closely with the company and with the individuals concerned, and we hope that the company will be able to be restructured through additional assistance from the EODC.
Nothing answered, Mr. Speaker. The fact is the computer was developed with money from the Ontario Development Corporation, and as a result it belongs to the people of Ontario. As I understand it, the company has served the government an ultimatum which would see the technology remain out of the country. Regardless of whether we get repayment of the $900,000, it's still unacceptable that technology developed with taxpayers' money is allowed to be pirated to the United States. Is the Minister content with this type of blackmail, or is he going to take legal action to ensure that the technology is returned to Kingston where it belongs?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, again to the member, we are taking steps and negotiating with the parties concerned. Hopefully that will be returned back to the Kingston area and that the company will again be viable and will be able to hire people in that area.
Final
Speaker,
supplementary.
hopefully is a favorite word of this minister. Mr. Speaker, this is not the only instance where we have seen a transfer of technology to the United States. Recently, Mitel announced they would be laying off more than 300 workers in Renfrew and transferring production to the United States. As well, the government has in recent weeks written off a $5 million loan to Graham Software and seen their $17.5 million planned investment in Exploricom being questioned, and some other matters that we won't get into. In light of these blunders, will the minister now admit that the government has completely failed at turning Ontario into a high-tech paradise, as promised in the April throne speech?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, again, I would say to the member that I don't believe in any time of the history of this province of Ontario have we seen such advances not only in manufacturing but in technology. The introduction of the Premier's Council are doing great things for the province of Ontario, and as hopefully Kingston and area will share in that prosperity.
New question. Order. New question. The member for York South.
Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Financial Institutions about the insurance rip-off. I'd like to ask the Minister, following the questions that I asked him yesterday, he still has not provided the House with an explanation as to why brokers would still be treating all young people as if they were high-risk drivers. Is it the position of the Ministry of Financial Institutions that all people under 25 are in fact high-risk drivers?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the third party will know that in the insurance industry they categorize risks in sections. It so happens, it's a fact of life, that in the industry all single male drivers under 25 have the highest rating. Now, I'm not saying whether or not I agree with it or not, but that is the case. Now, what we have done, and I'm sure you'll know, that was challenged before a judge, and the judge ruled in favor of the young man who challenged it. It's under appeal, but in the meantime, I've asked the industry to prepare an actuarial base so that we can do away with classification based on age, sex, and marital status, and instead use a classification whereby we would do it on driving experience and traffic record or accident record.
Supplementary?
No, but Mr. Speaker, the minister has not, I think, understood the problem. The problem is not simply one of discrimination against all people under the age of 25. That's one problem. We discussed that yesterday. Today I want to ask the minister to deal with another problem, and that is the fact that even within that category of drivers between the ages of 16 and 25, even within that category, brokers are continuing to refer those drivers not to a higher rate, not simply to the fact that they're paying $2,000 or $2,200, but they are relegating all of them as a category to the high-risk group, to the facility association rate, to the maximum rate that is only supposed to be for hard-to-insure cases. Is it the position of the Ministry of Financial Institutions that all young people should be treated as hard to insure?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that is not our position. The situation that we have now is that the Facility Association is not at fault because the Facility Association is there to help people get insurance when we have compulsory insurance in Ontario. Now, I understand what the member is saying, and it's true that some companies are referring their hard-risk young drivers to the facility without trying... Well, that isn't true. It isn't all young drivers. They are referring a lot of them there. There's no question about that. But the reason that is happening is because the brokers don't want to send them to one of their competitors. And I'm not saying it's right, and it's something that I've addressed to the Facility Association to see if we can rectify it.
Final supplementary.
Free to choose your customers. Mr. Speaker, the minister has fallen into his own trap. 4 months ago, you said this was a problem. 4 months ago, you said you were going to talk to the industry. I've got the clippings here from the Globe and Mail. You said you're going to talk to the industry very clearly and deal with this situation because you think it's something that has to be done about it. You're going to be meeting with the insurance representatives by mid to late August, where he will ask for action to stop the increasing numbers of people from being forced to seek facility coverage. Now that was months ago. I'd like to ask the minister, how can you explain, in a random survey conducted by a member of our research staff, how can you explain that random survey produced 2 brokers who said they wouldn't deal with anybody under 25 at all, and another 9 who said that their policy, as a matter of rule, as a matter of course, was to require all younger drivers to pay the Facility Association rate? You're faced here with a problem. You're not dealing with it. When are you going to deal with the fact that all young people are being labeled as high risk and are being put in and treated as people to be insured only as a matter of last resort? It's grossly unfair. You know it. Why don't you do something about it?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member is correct that in August I did meet with the Facility Association. There was rumors to the effect that the Facility Association was at fault, but you have to understand that all they do is receive the applications. The problem rests with the insurance brokers. I've met with their association. We've identified the problem, and they are working on the problem, and we are trying to resolve it.
New question. The member for York South.
Mr. Speaker, my second question is to the Minister of Health. The minister will be aware that having suppressed the information in the Crittenden report for a 6-month period, that committee has since been disbanded. You will be aware that they made one report to the minister in March of 1986, He did not choose to release that information until September of 1986. He's shaking his head. He can't deny it. That information was not made public until September. I'd like to ask the minister, can he tell us, since the committee has been disbanded, where do people go in nursing homes who have complaints that go beyond the Nursing Home Act, where they have concerns about the quality of life and not simply about specific infractions of the regulations? Where do those complaints go now?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the complaints can still go to residence councils, which are active in a number of the nursing homes. The complaints can still be made to us directly as the ministry in charge of quality of care. And, Mr. Speaker, there are ample opportunities for those items of complaint to come forward to us. And, in fact, I think probably some of the information about complaints in quality of service and care comes to each of us as members of the legislature as well. So there are a number of areas in which those complaints can be made. To be quite frank about it, Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at ways of providing other opportunities for access for complaint lodging as well, and strengthening certain roles of the resident councils to perhaps accommodate better action on concerns about quality of care in nursing homes.
Supplementary.
Speaker, the answer, as I understand it, is that having disbanded the Crittenden Committee, which was the only non-Nursing Home Act method of complaint, the minister has set up no alternatives to that whatsoever. There are now in existence at the Ministry of Health no avenues, official avenues of complaint that can be resolved and dealt with. That's what you're admitting. I have two files here, Mr. Speaker, one on extended care at Oak Ridge, one on the Country Place nursing home. They're this thick, correspondence going back several years with respect to both places. I could do the same for virtually every number of homes across the province. I'd like to ask the minister specifically this question: what is he going to do to ensure that these complaints, that these concerns, receive an independent assessment by a group of people who have the interests of the residents of heart, who are not tied to the Ministry of Health, who are independent and can fight for these residents and make sure that they get their justice living in our institutions in the province of Ontario?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the gentleman knows that a number of those complaints can be made to any number of people who are independent of the home, if you wish it in that particular manner. If you wish them to be independent as well, the Ministry of Health, then certainly there are support and family people who are involved with residents. I can tell the honourable gentleman that the complaints can be made directly to me as minister. They can make them to a number of groups who have formed to provide avenues of expression of concern as well, and I can tell the honourable gentleman those avenues are still open. I am looking, Mr. Speaker, at strengthening the quality of care in nursing homes. That is no surprise to anyone here, and I expect that we will, Mr. Speaker, be able to enhance the manner in which quality care is delivered in our nursing homes through the implementation of several amendments to Nursing Home Act, which will be coming forward. Your critic had provided some of the information, I'm sure, to you as well about the amendments that he has seen, and I would hope that we would have the support of all members of the House to help us improve the opportunities for quality of care enhancement in our nursing home sector.
Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, just so we can clarify what the minister has said, I don't want any misinterpretation. There is in the amendments that you presented to us, first of all, no Bill of Rights for residents. There's no Bill of Rights for residents. And second of all, there is now no way for residents to complain about the quality of life. That's now the position of the Minister of Health. No Bill of Rights and no avenue of redress for those with complaints that go beyond the Nursing Home Act. I'd specifically like to ask the minister, he has seen, I know, as has the Attorney General, the recommendations of the Concerned Friends group with respect to the establishment of a plan called Advocacy Ontario, which would deal with the needs of all those people who are in institutions in Ontario, who are vulnerable, who do not have an official place to go and do not have the means of getting their complaints heard and addressed. I'd like to ask the minister, can you tell us what is the position of the Ministry of Health with respect to Advocacy Ontario, and why are you and your government so slow So slow after 42 years of misrule, when you had a chance to do something to clean up these institutions.
Minister.
Why have you been dragging your feet and doing
Minister.
nothing to deal with these problems when the needs are so great?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as is the usual way with the honourable gentleman who represents the third party as leader, he totally misconstrues what is happening in the industry. He totally refuses to recognize that we have increased the opportunity of providing more programs to the seniors in our institutions. He totally fails to acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, that there are options for us to follow outside of nursing homes as well in order to provide quality service for the people of Ontario. He knows that my friend and colleague, the honourable gentleman representing London North and responsible for senior citizens affairs in Cabinet, is developing programs which will help us provide choices to people so that they won't necessarily have to be in institutions. I can tell the honourable gentleman that we are very actively as a group looking at new programs which will help us provide better service for the people of the province of Ontario. And in fact, when there are concerns expressed, we go out of our way to consult and take the message to the people of the province so they can tell us how we can increase the opportunities of people to be provided with better quality service, whether they're in institutions or outside institutions. But I can tell the honourable gentleman, Mr. Speaker, as well, that he is not aware of all of the developments with respect to our amendments in the Nursing Home Act, and I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, we'll proceed to increase the quality of care for our seniors in this province, whether he acknowledges it or not.
New question. The member for Fort William.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question to the Minister of Trade and Industry. Late yesterday afternoon, I learned that Great Lakes Forest Products is closing its stud mill at a cost of 60 jobs in my community of Thunder Bay. This is the result of your failure to protect Ontario's interest in a duty case for softwood lumber. What measures are you taking to fight for Thunder Bay jobs in Washington? What are you going to do to help these laid-off workers in Thunder Bay?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the question from the member and his concern for that area. We also have concern for the jobs. I might mention, though, that it is not a permanent closure. It is a temporary closure while they are assessing what is happening with it. But even at that, we hate to see those jobs lost, even temporarily. As I mentioned yesterday, we are continuing to fight this particular case. We have visited Ottawa. We have had many meetings with the other provinces and with the federal government and with the industry. And we will again be meeting, I believe, next Tuesday again with the federal trade minister to discuss the same topic.
Supplementary. The member for Cochrane South.
Mr. Speaker, to the Ministry of Trade, Minister of Trade, this minister and this government 4 weeks ago put some distance between itself and the federal government and the national position that was being advanced in Washington. Now the minister is saying he's back in the national fold and he will not fight as an Ontario government for Ontario's interests or Ontario jobs. Why do you refuse to get down to Washington, file an intervention, get into the hearing on December the 1st, and protect Ontario jobs? Why are you sitting on the sidelines whilst the forest products industry of Northern Ontario goes to hell in a handbasket? Why don't you stand up and fight?
I think that was basically the question that the member asked yesterday, and the answer is similar to the answer I gave yesterday. We have been continuing to fight. We have been in Washington. We will continue to fight our position with the federal government, with the rest of the people.
Order. Order. The member for Oakwood would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Housing. Mr. Minister, in view of the fact that on August the 5th, you assured the Claxton Boulevard Tenant Association that their buildings, and I quote, are not exempt from the Act, meaning Bill 11. However, on September the 22nd of this year, Gillian Burton, solicitor from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, in concurrence with Susan Taylor, coordinator of the Rental Housing Protection Act, told the tenants and the municipality of York, and I quote, "It is our view that these buildings are free of the Act at the present." Can you, Mr. Minister, tell us who are the tenants and the municipality to believe? your words and your commitment or the decision that you bureaucrats have made?
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would tell the honourable member, if you send the case over to me, I would be able to assess the case in particular. You're asking who are the tenants to believe. We have an act here to protect the tenants. Bill 11 is there to protect tenants being thrown out of their residence because of excessive renovation that displaces them and other means. I'm saying if the case in particular, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member would send the case over to me, then I would then address that situation.
Supplementary?
Well, I thank the minister for saying send over the case to me and I will look into it. But the fact is that the minister should know that October the 9th in Cabinet, sir, you changed the rules, the regulations, which effectively takes tenants' homes away from them. When confronted with the first real test to Bill 11, you basically run in Cabinet and you change the rules of the game. Now, how can any tenant in this province really believe that you're interested in protecting affordable housing when your actions places you squarely in the back pockets of the landlords?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, Bill 11 is there to protect the tenants, and saying that I changed the rules in Cabinet. As you know, that we run a very democratic government here, Mr. Speaker, and any change that comes about, Mr. Speaker, will be properly discussed and properly debated and voted on.
New question? The member for... Now, the member for Lincoln would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the minister responsible for women's issues. Do they have one? Given the minister's interest in pay equity, I want, by way of a question, to provide him with an opportunity to give us a timely and a positive response. There currently exists a pay gap of some 70 cents between the fees charged by physiotherapists to OHIP under what's known as the G code and those fees charged by doctors. Now, I wonder if the minister responsible for women's issues would wish to correct this disparity.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, the question is no doubt timely and a matter of concern to the honourable member and all of us. As he's aware, Bill 105 is in committee. Bill 105 is not my responsibility, but it deals with Ontario Public Service pay. If these people are Ontario Public Service employees, then they would be covered under the bill. If they are not, just coming to it, if they are not public service employees, any rights they have will be under the private sector and broader public sector bill, which will be presented to the House in due course.
Supplementary?
Don't know anything about it. I thank the minister for the lecture. I'd remind him that there is not a bill required to correct this disparity. This is a profession that is primarily made up of the female gender. A profession that's dominated by women. It's not compensated on the same basis as the medical profession. A clear case of discrimination. Why wouldn't you want to sit down with the Minister of Health today and correct this discrepancy?
Minister?
Speaker,
why didn't you do it, Phil?
What I have said to the honourable member remains the case, that if there is a gender discrimination problem of the type he describes, and I accept his word for it, it will be remedied if it is a broader public sector or private sector discrimination case when that legislation is introduced. My concern is with pay equity. If the honourable member has any concerns about compensation payable under health schemes, of course that question should be directed to another minister.
New question, the member for Ottawa Centre.
My question is to the minister responsible for women's issues. Yesterday I raised the case of Nancy Daly, the qualified carpenter who's been made into a bus sweeper by the TTC after a year and a half of working as a carpenter for the TTC, and the minister suggested that she should take her problem to the Union he said she will have to understand that the terms of the working conditions are affected by the collective agreement that has been negotiated by the trade union acting on her behalf. And he in essence said it's the union's fault and she should go to the union. How can the minister take that position knowing full well that the union does not have the same kind of power to determine how such an employee is treated as management does? How can he blame the union in this situation?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is very anxious to have me blame somebody, and I don't blame anybody. The reality is, on the facts that were given to me yesterday, if Miss Bailey is an employee found within the collective bargaining unit for which the collective bargaining agency has made a collective agreement, her terms of employment, apart from any rights she may have in statute, are provided for in the collective agreement. The honourable member knows that. The honourable member may not like it, but that's been the law of the province for 25 years.
New supplementary?
When the minister is going to change the law of the province that's been such a wet noodle in terms of helping women for the last 25 years. When is he going to meet the commitment that his party made during the election of 1985 to bring in employment equity programs in the public sector and to bring in contract compliance so that there would be employment equity programs in the private sector in Ontario?
You know, the honourable member, if the honourable member wants a change in the collective bargaining law, which she apparently seems to want, I will refer that question to my colleague, the Minister of Labour. If she is concerned about pay equity in the broader public sector or in the private sector, as I am, and as I am charged to be, I remind her that the bill will be presented very shortly to this House.
New question? The member for Nipissing.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Treasurer and give him an opportunity to redeem his party on women's issues and ask the Treasurer if he agrees with his Premier's statement of November 5th as reported in the November 6th Toronto Star. And his Premier says, quote, "The government has the money for implementing private and public sector equal value legislation." Do you agree with that, sir?
Treasurer?
I always agree with the Premier, and on the rare occasions when it turns out I don't agree, I change my mind. I think he was referring to the financing needed for an expanded pay equity bill, which would be envisaged by the one that the Attorney General was just referring to, which would be introduced into the House soon. The budget of the province this year, and that envisaged for next year, has a commitment of just under $100 million, between 80 and 90 million actually, which is required for the funding of Bill 105. That if the House passes another bill and the funding is required for it before that budgetary period elapses, we will have to make additional plans.
Supplementary?
Well, Mr. Treasurer, you're all over the map on this. The Premier says yes now. You say no. The Minister responsible for women's issues hides behind both of you and has been doing that for the past few months.
Right.
I'd like to ask you one more time. The Premier made it very clear. He said it was an election promise and the government has the money. Has the money now. Why do you continue to argue against your own Premier when you say we haven't got the money? It's not budgeted for this year.
Treasurer?
Mr. Speaker, the government has the money to pay for the costs of anything enacted by this House that is supported by a recommendation from His Honor. That's the way the system works, and that's the way I trust it will continue to work. It's democratic, it's parliamentary.
New question. The member for Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Premier. I was very interested last month to hear the Premier tell the Conservation Council of Ontario that he supported a federal-provincial industry-based clean-up fund for the clean-up of hazardous waste dumps. But, Mr. Speaker, we all know how long federal-provincial negotiations can take. And I'd like to ask the Premier, is he prepared to follow the lead of several states in the United States and to establish here in Ontario, for Ontario, an industry-based cleanup fund?
Premier.
Well, member, and I'm delighted the honourable member was at that speech, and I'm glad she agrees with our particular initiative in that regard. She will be aware that the honourable minister suggested a national fund to his colleagues. I am told that the general idea was extremely well received by the various his peers across the country, and there is active study underway at the present time to go into to look at the matter, and I understand that there is a fairly high degree of commitment. Now, Mr. Speaker, let me respond to the specific idea of having a provincial fund. It's not a possibility that one would rule out, but it is much preferable to do this nationally. As you know, if there are it takes some of the distortions out of the competitive positions across the country. It puts everyone on an equal footing, and certainly that is our intention. Where possible, it is this government's preference to work with the other provinces and the federal government as well, as difficult as the federal government makes it for us from time to time. But we are patient, and we are prepared to show the leadership in this matter, as we have shown leadership in almost every other matter I'm sure the honourable member could raise in this House.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, what the Federal Provincial Conference of Environment Ministers agreed to do was to study the feasibility of having such a fund, and I think that's a long way off from seeing a fund. I'd like to say to the Premier that we in Ontario generate a lot of the industrial waste in this country. We are now shipping our pathological waste to Quebec, our industrial waste to Alberta. The state of New York, in its elections last week, passed the Bond Act, which allocates $1.2 billion for the cleanup of 500 sites in New York State. Why does the Premier not think that Ontario has an equal responsibility to look after our own problems with our own funds?
Speaker, we do have a responsibility, and I will remind my honourable colleague opposite that the Minister of the Environment is considered the leader in North America in pursuing these matters. And I want to thank the member opposite for her gracious help when it's required for the honourable minister from time to time. But let's say it's not a possibility we've excluded. We recognize our responsibility, and we are actively attacking these matters. But I'm repeating to my honourable colleague that it does create distortions, as you know, and our preference is to work on a national basis. What did please us very much, there was a general agreement with the principle, and there is some advancement towards that cause. Now, tell my honourable friend we will not wait forever, obviously. I can tell you many other issues where this government did not wait for the federal government and provided the leadership across this country. We're prepared to do it, but this is one we would prefer to work with our sister provinces in solving.
New question, the member for Ottawa West.
My question is to the Minister of Community and Social Services, a fine gentleman, Mr. Speaker, but a tad... But in my... but in my view, a tad too inclined to be a laissez-faire minister. And my question relates to the Ottawa and District Association for the Mentally Retarded, through which agency that minister provides essential services to some 400 mentally retarded in Ottawa and District. My question is the minister fully apprised of the very serious and protracted dispute going on between the professional workers and management, and that will in all likelihood end in a disruption of services? And, Mr. Speaker, more specifically, is the minister aware of a very highly irregular, inflammatory, and bizarre manner in which the executive director of that agency resigned during these negotiations and was replaced by a board member within a few days at an inflated salary of about $70,000, and that all of this took place within a few days and without going through even the most elementary search and employment procedures?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have been appraised of this particular issue on a daily basis for at least the last 4 weeks. Yes, I'm fully aware of what's going on there. My Ottawa area staff has been in daily consultation with both the board members and the executive staff of that agency, and have drawn up, if necessary, contingency plans, which, quite frankly, we hope we don't have to use. With respect to the resignation and replacement of the executive director, that was done by the duly constituted board of directors. The man who is now the executive director has the necessary qualifications to do the job, and there's no reason in the world for us to say that they can't hire such a person.
Supplementary.
I must really say, Mr. Speaker, that the minister surely, in light of this really very irregular way in which this man was appointed within 3 days, and especially during these very, very tense times of negotiating, that surely, and I must ask the question here is the minister really now going to take another step beyond being simply apprised by his Ottawa staff and take a good, close look at see what has really happened there and make sure that this agency isn't going to end up with a serious disruption of work? And I would remind the minister, this agency is his only avenue to provide these essential services to the mentally retarded. You're sitting on a time bomb, Mr. Minister. What are you going to do about it?
I know what's going on.
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would remind the member that there was another strike action in that general area that has been recently settled. I expect this one to be with another association for the mentally retarded. I expect that this one is going to be settled, hopefully without a strike. We have indicated very, very clearly the ways in which we're prepared to assist the board of directors with their negotiations. But in the final analysis, they're the ones that do the negotiating. We're not prepared to do it for them. I have been to Ottawa twice in the last month, meeting with my staff to be sure that we do fully understand the implications of what's happening in Ottawa, and that in fact the negotiations are proceeding in a fair and reasonable manner.
New question. The member for Sudbury East.
I have a question of the Minister of Labour, better known as the Guardian. I didn't say that. In April of '86, the employees of Epton Industries in Kitchener were notified by the company doctor they should have their blood tested for lead and cadmium. These samples were taken on June 26 by MDS Labs and analyzed here in Toronto by the Ministry Lab. The results were given to the company doctor and I presume to your staff in London, since they were involved in getting the company to set the proper control program. Question to the minister: since blood tests for low-level cadmium exposure are totally useless, why did your medical consultant not order the proper testing, which should have been done, which was a urine sample, since this metal is known to cause irreversible kidney damage?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has raised a very specific question asking for I believe, a detailed response of the proper medical procedures, the proper health procedures that should have been followed. I'm not familiar with the specific instance to which he refers, but he raises an important question. I'll get back to him as quickly as I can, I hope by Monday.
Supplementary.
You won't send it to Mr. Laskin.
Point of order.
Speaker, we see this happen frequently with a third party. They ask a question, the minister says he will get back to them, and they go ahead with a supplementary, then you allow them a supplementary at some future date.
Order. 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 On that point of order, I would remind... Order. On that point of order, I'll remind all members that I did rule on a previous occasion that there should not be another one, but the members insisted that there should be. So therefore, that's the reason I've allowed it. The members have asked for it. I said the members. Supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary. Since the company doctor requested that the analysis be done, he is assumed to be the attending physician. Can the minister tell me why, when one of the workers asked for the test results from your consultant, he was advised to ask the company doctor? He did not get his results from the company doctor, but in fact he got the results from the shift boss. From the shift boss. Now, isn't that a violation of the Health Discipline Act under Regulation 448, Section 27, subsection 22? And why were the results given to the workers 2 months after the tests were taken and not immediately, even though they were useful?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable gentleman is asking me if that's a violation of the Health Disciplines Act and whatever followed thereafter, I don't know the answer to that. But I will. But I do acknowledge that the member has raised a very serious concern. I know the facility has the United Rubber Workers Union. We will deal with the union on that matter. And if the honourable gentleman, Mr. Speaker, has any additional information that may be of use in our investigation, I'd like him to send it to me, and we'll try to get back to him with an answer on Monday.
New question. The member for Brock.
My question is to the Minister of Housing. Two of my constituents, the former Karen Liddon and Ronald Elgie, who were married last Friday, have been trying for the past 6 months to obtain rental accommodation for themselves and their 4 children of previous marriages. After being asked if they have any children and the ages of those children, they have repeatedly been refused accommodation. What does the government intend to do to ensure that these types of situations are not allowed to continue, so that people with children are not considered second-class citizens in Ontario?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, again, the honourable member brought that case to me, and I tell you that these cases, I don't like hearing them like you, too. And I hope that we'll be able to give every single soul in this province able to have affordable housing. We know that we have, and I don't even like saying this because it's so bad, to inherit such a backlog of neglect in housing. And in the past, Mr. Speaker, what we have done, we have bring about, as you see, a very aggressive policy in bringing almost so far 1,300 non-profit social housing, and Mr. Speaker, we know that although we have announced those, and there are many tractors are being digging, but these things cannot be built overnight, Mr. Speaker. And the member here said, I don't know what I'm speaking about. I'd like to tell him, Mr. Speaker, when that government was in power, they neglected so badly, Mr. Speaker, that you expect us to turn this around in 18 months.
Order. Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, if the minister would dwell on the present, maybe we wouldn't have these problems today. The minister, of course, realizes that Bill 7 contains a provision which would resolve this problem. What is the minister doing to ensure that this bill is brought before the legislature for consideration as soon as possible?
Minister?
Order.
As you know, Mr. Speaker, I am concerned, of course, that there's no discrimination being levied at anyone because of they are young or because they are women and they have access to these accommodations. What I am doing, I'm strongly supporting that direction. And as you know too, that on top of that we are increasing the supplies in which that we have accommodation for battered women, accommodation for ex-psychiatric, things that you all neglected in the past. Yeah. But I don't want to throw this back all the time, Mr. Speaker. I'm saying that we are doing something very active to address those problems. We're not here to have a relay of which one was worse. You just watch us as we move forward and address all these problems.
The member for...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a...
Order. The member... Order. Yes, maybe the member for Sudbury East will allow the member for Scarborough-Ellesmere to ask a question.
You applaud, but he'll clean up the swamp. I have a question, Mr. Speaker, for the Minister of Health, and I'd like to know if he can tell me precisely when, and maybe it's today, that the Scarborough General Hospital will receive its check for $1 million for the renal dialysis program?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe it will be today. The honourable gentleman knows that the renal dialysis program has been referred to the Toronto District DHC, the District Health Council, to develop a program which will address the needs of that particular program on a metro-wide basis. We'll be looking forward to the recommendations coming from that council, but I cannot tell the gentleman that there will be a check in the mail today.
Mr. Speaker, it is necessary for myself and people from the community to come and ask the Minister of Health, because the District Council has dithered for over 2.5 years without a response to the community. Enough is enough. This hospital needs that program. There isn't a single program for renal dialysis between Toronto and Kingston, and you know it. Our city of 500,000 needs that program. I want to know when you're going to deliver the check.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will advise the member when the decision has been made. He would, I think, be happy to accompany me at that time, and I would invite him to be there, because I know that he is bringing to my attention, again, something that he has written to me about, something that he has expressed a very active interest in, as have my colleagues in Cabinet who are also from the Scarborough area. I can tell the honourable gentleman that the needs of that particular vicinity are well known to me, but there are also needs that have to be coordinated around the District Health Council area. I can acknowledge to the gentleman that he is not alone. His colleagues from the other Scarborough ridings have been actively promoting the program, and I expect to hear fairly soon some recommendations from that council.
New question, the member for Rainy River.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Technology.
Who's that?
The government has decided to award a $50,000 contract to an American-based firm for the study of phosphates in Northern Ontario. Apparently, the 11 Ontario firms that submitted contract proposals didn't make the grade, even though 2 of the 4 made it to the short list and were Ontario-based, but were judged capable of performing the work. Would the minister please explain why the government has flown in the face of its promises and awarded a contract to an American firm, even though many competent Ontario firms submitted bids?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the member would be kind enough to supply any of the information that he has in this particular case, I would be very pleased to have a look at it.
Supplementary?
What's that high-paid staff doing for you? What's that high-paid staff doing?
Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Supplementary. I can't understand how the government, on one hand, can stress the importance of economic growth and self-reliance of northern communities, and on the other hand, award a contract concerning the North to an American firm. Will the minister please reaffirm his commitment to the economic development and expansion in the North, and assure that this House, that Northern Ontario firms will be approached and given priority for government contracts such as this one, which has been awarded to an American company?
Minister.
Speaker, as I mentioned, I will be pleased to review the particular case, and I will get back to the member on it.
New question, the member for Bellwoods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question for the Minister of Labour concerning the now much put off reforms to the Workers' Compensation Board. And my question has to do with the Weiler report, the study of the future of workers' compensation that was commissioned by Mr. Weiler, I think in 1982.
2 years ago at least.
4, it's at least 2 years. Can the minister confirm that he has received the report from Mr. Weiler and tell us when it will be released?
Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I want to indicate to the honourable member and to the House that I have received a draft submission from Mr. Weiler. I have had an opportunity to speak and to review the implications with Mr. Weiler. There was one I would indicate through you, Mr. Speaker, to the honourable member. There was one issue that Mr. Weiler had not addressed in his report, which I felt was important that he should share with his views on. We have asked him to do so, and we've asked him to expedite that. I believe the timetable we're looking at is the beginning of December to have that material, or before, for Mr. Weiler, and then shortly thereafter we should be in a position to table the report in the House and share it with honourable members.
Supplementary.
The last conversation I had with your previous deputy minister, he indicated that the report would be released last June. Now we're told that you have a draft and that the draft isn't complete. Why don't you just release what you've got, share it with us, and get on with the job of redrafting the Workers' Compensation Act so that we can get rid of the meat chart and we can establish a compensation rating system that's based on compensating workers both for pain and suffering and to impairment of earning capacity. Why don't you stop the delay, the procrastination, and get on with the job that you're paid to do?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to indicate to the honourable member that frankly, as June crept into July and onward, the thought of just saying, let's see what we have written and releasing it certainly crossed my mind. But I would say to my honourable friend that the issue that Mr. Weiler did not address is one that I believe was important enough that it should be addressed. I'll quite frankly share it with the critics and indeed with the House, the issue that has delayed matters. There were also a number of studies that are performing part of this additional report, which weren't available until September. I think the honourable gentleman, who is, I know, very knowledgeable on matters of workers' compensation, would agree with me that the matter of permanent partial disabilities is one of very critical importance in the whole reform of the workers' compensation process. I chose to take an additional short delay so that we could get a report which would be as comprehensive as possible and that members may have laid before them all of the various options which have been canvassed and which are available for us to make a decision upon. And I do hope to have that report to table in the House next month.
New question. The member for Hastings, Peterborough.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Attorney General. Mr. Minister, I wrote you approximately 2 months ago asking you to meet with the Madoc Village Council over the closing of the provincial court there. Why won't you meet with these people?
Attorney General.
I have no record of the honourable member's letter. I'll look into it and try and get back to him. As he knows, I'm delighted to meet with any people in his constituency at the earliest possible moment.
Well, we called your office and they acknowledged that you did have a letter.
Oh, no! God.
And you have never put it in writing what you expect from the Kiwanis Center, and this is an inconvenience to those people to have to drive all the way from Centre Hastings down to Belleville for the provincial court. Do you think that's fair?
Well, as the honourable member knows, the problem of closing courts is always perceived as unfair in those communities where they exist. But when courts are held in some communities only 1 day a week, sometimes 1 day every 2 weeks, it is not always possible, if one's to be fiscally responsible, to maintain their operation at very considerable expense. But I want to indicate to the honourable member that I am quite prepared to meet with any of his constituents to discuss the matter. I don't recall his having written me, but if he has done so, I will look into it right away and try to get back to him.
New question, the member for Etobicoke.
I have a question of the Minister of Consumer and Commercial Relations. Now that the 13th report, Part 4, the Ombudsman's Committee, has been passed by this legislature, can the Minister inform the House exactly when the Rembrandt homeowners are going to be compensated?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I can't give you a specific answer because one of the problems that we have is that when the Ombudsman reported, you'll know the Ombudsman referred to, I think, 26 particular cases. When the committee examined it, they, in their wisdom, expanded it to 175. So what we have is a situation where the Ombudsman was dealing with one group, the committee came forward with a recommendation to have 175. We have to track those people down, we have to determine what in fact their claim is, and then come to some resolution to solve it.
Supplementary.
Well, if the minister fails to implement the report, he'll be the first minister that's ever failed to implement an ombudsman's recommendation that was passed in this House. Would the minister give us a timetable as to exactly what he is doing, when these homeowners are going to be repaid? And can he tell us why his officials haven't even contacted the Ombudsman's office in relation to the recommendation, since it was passed about a week ago?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, the member is in error if he said that I wasn't going to implement the report. We have every intention of implementing the report. The only thing that we don't have is that I'm pointing out to you, we have a complication in the fact that the Ombudsman has reported on one specific number of claimants, and the committee has expanded it to 175. My ministry officials have started to work immediately to quantify who and what it is that they have to respond to, and we're doing that, and we'll do it as quickly as we can.
New question, the member for Brampton.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to address my question to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. I understand that there is a report being prepared with reference to bringing in line municipal elections in terms of the amount of spending that's allowed and so on. I'm wondering if within the terms of reference of the persons who are looking into this, there is any consideration of using the same analogy as is used in provincial and federal elections in terms of monies being available to allow people running for office to recoup the costs, a portion of their costs, in a similar fashion to provincial and federal elections.
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the report is still being studied by most municipalities in the province, and until the report is back before me, it's very difficult to prejudge the findings of these municipalities. But it's a very interesting suggestion. I must warn you, though, that this is not part. It wasn't part of the terms of reference of the committee. But I can certainly ask the committee to look into it, Mr. Speaker.
That completes the allotted time for oral questions.